Hello and welcome for today's episode of The Untold. This is the show where we have people from all kind of sectors. For today's very special episode, we have Saad Khaled, who's an actor, filmmaker, director, writer. MashaAllah, the list goes on. We are going to be sitting down here on The Untold. We're going to be talking about filmmaking. We're going to be talking about him, his journey, his experience so far. So stay tuned. We'll come right back. And we are back. We are joined by Musaad Khalid, who I believe our KTV audiences would require no introduction. But I will give you the opportunity for you to introduce yourself after saying thank you for joining us on The Untold.
Thank you for having me. My name is Musaad Khalid. I'm an actor, writer, filmmaker, and a husband, soon to be father, hopefully.
Hopefully.
And I work as a translator at the Ministry of Information.
MashaAllah.
Yeah,
A man of so many hats.
yes.
Yeah. So on The Untold, we do have, a knack for always going back to the beginnings, right? So I would like to ask you your beginnings. Talk to us about how were you before you got into all of this?
I always had an affinity for acting, but I never had the chance to perform until I was in college, and I majored in English literature.
Okay.
And in Kuwait University, we had an event called the English Day.
The English Day.
The English Day. It's like a talent show, basically.
Okay.
So on the third year, I had a chance to perform in 3 small plays, like
Those
themes,
were local,
basically.
right? For the university?
For the university, but they were classical plays.
Oh, okay. MashaAllah.
Ibsen,
Yeah.
Hitchcock, Shakespeare, sorry,
Shakespeare, yeah.
Shakespeare, and so I got a chance to perform in front of an audience for the first time,
Okay.
and I just enjoyed it so much
How was
that I
that
pursued
experience?
it.
How was that experience though? First time stepping on stage, the nerves, the emotional impact.
It was
all
I
of
was very nervous actually,
Okay.
because I had to do 3 plays, so I had to make sure that I would not repeat myself, and I had to do 3 different characters. That was the challenge.
So you were doing them all on the same day?
Yeah,
Oh, mashallah.
yeah, but I think the moment you're on stage,
Yeah.
that fear just disappears, and you get into the character and you start living as the character, I guess.
Oh, so is that your technique, to step into the character and you kind of forget all of the cameras and stuff?
Yes, my technique is switching off and on, I think,
Yeah.
but that needs a lot of rehearsing. So if I rehearse as much as I can, I would be I would have my own flow on stage.
Oh, okay. So you're like what people call method actors, where you're living in the character
I do,
until you
yeah.
kind of like,
I try as much to
yeah.
be in the character.
Have you ever lost yourself in a character?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Still waiting for the
Still waiting
yeah.
for the
I mean, hopefully you don't, lose yourself too much in the deep end
No,
for
no,
one
not-
character. Yeah. And what about your love for storytelling? Because you got into university for English literature. So what kind of, inspired all of that?
I think studying theater was an important thing for me because I started studying computer science at Kuwait
Oh,
University.
mashallah.
Yeah, then I switched to English literature because it was my minor. And when I saw that they had a lot of theater classes,
Yeah.
I decided to switch my major. And during that time, I met a lot of interesting people, and we started working together. We made short films, and everything kind of followed afterwards. But I think if there was like a moment that changed my mind about storytelling was watching a film called Being John Malkovich.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
That movie.
And when I watched it, I realized that there's so much you can do with film.
Yeah.
And it just opened a lot of space for me to try to be creative with writing.
Honestly, there's a similar story to how I got here because I was studying law before I got into all of this. And then I saw a movie called Children of Men. And that was like, okay, yeah, I don't want law. I don't want anything to do with law. I'm going to pursue whatever this
I want to
is.
make this.
Yeah. So that's one in between us. But I do want to ask you, because you got from computer sciences to English literature, what, sparked that transition? What made you go to that leap?
I went into computer science actually to try to create video games, which was
Oh.
another form of storytelling.
Okay, yeah.
Basically. But When I took 3 or 4 classes for my minor,
Yeah.
I fell in love with literature and poetry and short stories,
Oh, mashallah.
and that just kind of took over. It was a very natural, smooth transition
Yeah.
for me, actually.
Yeah, and I think, some underappreciated ability between students, especially when you're kind of maturing at such a young age, is to know what you want and then pursue it, right?
Yeah,
Because we see a lot of people go to genres and stuff they don't feel like, and then they say,
true,
oh, I regret not choosing this and that.
true,
So you
true.
obviously pursue what you love. And speaking of what you love, between filmmaking, acting, writing, how do you balance all of that? How do you feel between one another? Is there like a contrast between them?
It's very difficult, actually, but my love stays for acting. If I had like a acting career, I wouldn't maybe write or try to
Oh,
direct.
acting. So acting speak for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think of myself as an actor. I learned how to write. I studied writing, and with experience, I started directing because I worked on a lot of short films in Kuwait, and I saw how people work, different styles, different
Yeah.
methods, and that kind of rubbed onto me. So I started with the short experimental short films, and then it developed a little bit into like more dramatic work.
Oh, so do you see yourself in dramatic works or comedy works or?
It depends because with writing, because half of my work that I do with writing is hired writing.
Yeah.
So they would contact me to write an ad, or they would contact me to write a cartoon, or I'm writing a comedy feature film now. So
Oh, mashallah.
it depends.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't know. I think I like working on like whatever the project is,
Yeah.
and maybe to have like a bit of everything, like a bit of drama and comedy, and maybe sci-fi or horror,
Yeah.
if possible.
And what about acting specifically that kind of, makes it leapfrog instead of the other ones that would go above them?
I think it's because I always wanted to be an actor as a
Oh,
kid.
yeah.
I don't know. It was just something that I thought of. I was watching when I was a kid and I would watch kids act on TV. I thought like I can do a better job than these
Yeah.
guys. And I don't know. Maybe watching too much TV as a kid and doing impressions and doing trying to tell jokes as a kid as well.
Yeah.
I think that's why it came naturally to me because I didn't study writing.
Yeah.
I didn't study acting.
Acting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So it came more naturally. I didn't have to learn a lot of things. I would study a character and then just switch on and off.
Yeah. Just that, that click between on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like because they transition from acting to writing and then filmmaking. That reminded me of something I read for Clint Eastwood.
Mm,
He was doing a movie or something, and then he was like, I'm seeing a director working, and then he was like, I could do this job.
exactly.
So that's how Clint Eastwood turned into
Exactly.
being a director and actor. So you both two got those two in common.
When we made the first 3-4 short films we made as a group back in 2007,
Yeah.
the films got accepted at the Gulf Film Festival in Dubai.
Oh, mashallah.
So we all traveled, and it was our first festival experience. And exactly like you said, we watched a lot of films, and we thought we could make better films. I think that just gave me an inspiration to start writing and directing more.
Yeah. And speaking of watching a lot of stuff and watching a lot of movies, do you still actively watch a lot of movies, a lot of TVs?
Yeah,
stuff?
all the time. I like to watch everything.
Okay.
I would watch Russian films. I would watch Marvel movies.
Oh,
Yeah, I like to watch everything that's made well,
Yeah.
basically.
can I put you on the spot and ask you for some kind of favorites or top lists or something, or is that too?
The list goes on and on and on. But if you had asked me that question a few years ago, I wouldn't have an answer. But
Okay.
my favorite film now is a Japanese trilogy called The Human Condition.
The Human Condition.
It's an epic war story, kind of like Les Miserables,
Oh,
but
yeah.
made into a movie. Basically,
Oh,
it's such a huge,
Yeah.
epic film, and that's my favorite. But I love all sorts of stuff. I love the Coen brothers. I love Yasujiro Ozu,
Yeah.
Tarkovsky, Sidney Lumet. Yeah, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, it's amazing. You keep listing classical, directors and filmmakers. Do you watch anything from recent filmmakers, or is it the
Yeah,
classic
I like Paul Thomas Anderson. For
Oh,
example.
PTA, yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for his
Yeah, well,
next
Leonardo.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else? Always the Coen brothers.
Yeah. Tarantino, Scorsese.
I'm not a big fan of Tarantino.
Oh, you're not a fan of
actually.
Tarantino.
Yeah. I'm not a
That's-
fan of Tarantino or Wes Anderson
Wes
or
Anderson-
Christopher
come-
Nolan.
Wes Anderson is a very acquired taste, but
Yeah.
his visual style, I would say, is very educational.
It's perfect. Like
Yeah.
his frames are perfect, but I don't enjoy his movies.
Oh, but what about Tarantino? Why don't you enjoy his movies
Sorry.
though? That's fine.
Tarantino, I don't know. Just as an audience member, I don't like his movies.
Oh yeah.
I don't get into them. You know.
Yeah.
I had to watch his Inglorious film,
Yeah.
and I was forced to watch it actually because I didn't like it, but my friend insisted that I would finish it and that I would like it at the end. But it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
And as an actor, do you take it as a, learning process whenever you're watching stuff, or is it by now just, second nature?
It depends. Sometimes some performances catch your eye, like certain
Okay,
subtle
yeah.
things. Especially, I like to watch a lot of films with Jack Nicholson in them. And if you watch a lot of his 70s work, where he does a lot of different
Yeah,
characters,
Chinatown.
yeah,
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
yeah, Five Easy Pieces.
Yeah.
He does a lot of different characters, and he plays the characters differently.
Yeah.
Unlike his 90s persona, you know. So I like to watch that. I like to watch Dustin Hoffman, also in his 70s era, where he does a lot of different
Amazing
characterization.
actor, The Graduate.
The Graduate,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I want to ask you about the transition to filmmaking. What is a scene, or even, as an actor, what is a scene or moment within something you've done that you really cherish and feel emotional about?
I think in what I consider my first short film, because I made like experimental stuff.
Yeah.
But the first short film I made was titled "I Wasn't Cheating," and it's about a student in a school who gets accused of cheating on an exam, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And he has to clear his name, basically. And the final scene in that movie, where he faces the vice principal to prove his innocence, is something that means a lot to me, because it's about communication. It's about trying to get somebody to listen to you and to understand the truth. And I hope I did a good job with that scene, and it was dramatically well built.
Yeah, and that one kind of lingered with you.
Yeah, I like that scene.
Yeah.
I would rewatch it sometimes.
I mean, by the way you describe it, it's very, emotional, and it also has a great message behind it as well. And for someone who has gone through so many characters and who have put on so many hats, either as a writing or acting and filmmaking, have you ever or discovered something about yourself in the nature of this process?
I didn't know that I would be able to play older men.
Oh.
In the last play I did, I played an 80-year-old man. And that was a very challenging role to play.
How was that transition? Like, what was so challenging about it?
Vocally, I think that was the most challenging aspect of it. And physically, of course, because you'd have a cane and you have to shake your hands every time you're walking and be in that character. Although in the play, he switches into a young man and then goes back to being an old man.
Yeah.
That was a very challenging role for me, actually.
And when you're tackling a challenging role, like, what is your process like? Do you, research it, perform it in front of the mirror? How does that go?
The first thing I would do is sit with the director and try to understand his vision for the character.
Yeah.
Because if I do my own homework and then it doesn't meet the same criteria.
It's going to be a clash of ideas.
Yeah. So I'd like to understand more from the director and from the writer about the character, and then try to build it together, not by myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to, because sometimes I'm doing an advertising, which is you play basic characters, like nothing. There's no depth to them, I would say, as dramatic or comedic characters. So these characters are easy to play, but especially in theater, you have to get into a role very much physically, emotionally, and because you're also doing a real-time arc of the character, and you're not doing different scenes where you have to switch on and off. You have like a certain flow on the stage.
Yeah, you kind of have to understand and get a grasp of the character in order to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are going to take a quick break. This was so lovely, and we're going to be continuing it, but just after this one. And we are back. We are joined by Khaled, who's an actor, filmmaker, and writer. And we were having such lovely conversation. But I do want to ask you about one thing.
Can I ask you a question before we
turning the
we go
table?
on?
Yeah, let me just adjust everything. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I worked as a teacher in a high school.
Yeah.
And I realized that being a teacher is also being a performer.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to step out of your a normal persona
Yeah,
to face 30 students and try to explain to them
yeah.
the subject. Does it feel like that when you're presenting a show because you have to put on a certain role?
I mean, honestly, I think to a certain degree, right? Because I know maybe just my friends and my family members have seen the real me, right? But for the outside world, of course, you got to put some boundaries, limitations here and there, But I do try to keep it as real as possible. Yeah. But if they could air some of the off-air stuff, I think people get a more, you know, realistic depiction of what Abdullah is.
The real version.
The real version of Abdullah. So
Maybe sometime
yeah, keep it
you'll never
professional.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of keeping it professional, I do want to ask you about something related to your profession, right? Before you tackle a role, before you do anything, is there like a specific workout, a regimen, something you do to get in the process?
For acting, it's reading the play or the script multiple times and try to understand the core of it.
Yeah.
When it comes to writing, I like to do a lot of research.
Okay.
Again, it depends on the project.
Yeah.
I like to do a lot of research. I like to break the story down before writing anything. I would have my beats ready. I would have the main arc ready, because these things will make the process way smoother than it is.
Yeah.
With directing, it's actually way harder,
Oh.
especially if you work as an independent filmmaker in Kuwait, because as a director, you're also the producer. So you have to find a team.
Yeah.
You have to work on your storyboard. You have to work with actors. You have to manage the whole project.
It's like
And
tackling so many people and combining them into one.
yeah, it takes a lot of effort just to deliver that 4 or 5 minutes short film.
Yeah.
It's very challenging, but it's very rewarding at the end. When you finish that project and you finish the edit,
Yeah.
you do get some satisfaction out of that.
And so, working as a director, do you usually prefer to work on something you wrote, or do you usually take something, from other writers?
I haven't done anything by other writers.
Oh, so it's all director-writer
Yeah,
combination.
mostly.
Yeah.
I wrote for other people, but I didn't get anybody to write for me yet.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I just didn't get the chance to do it so far.
Yeah. And do you think that process, it's hard because you're in control of everything, even the writing process? But what is so difficult about that process in particular?
To have another writer write for me.
No, I mean, because you said being a director is so challenging. So outside of taking so many people from so many different places, what is so challenging about it? Is it the physical work? Is it the after work, the editing process to make sure your project is all the same?
The editing is the easiest part of the process, I think.
Yeah.
Because you do it in an office with a computer.
Well, that's
alone.
probably going to get our editors angry, right? You
Yeah.
have an easy job. Yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm only kidding. Yeah.
But producing a short film and doing mostly no budget short films is very tough. And if you wrote the movie yourself, you have a certain specific vision that you need to deliver.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most challenging part. I think if you get 60% of your vision, that's like 100%.
Oh.
Because you have no control over the locations. You don't have a budget to build locations. You don't always have budget to get a lot of crowd in the short films. You don't get a big budget to get a lot of lighting.
Yeah.
So you have to work with what you have.
So it's a lot of compromise.
Yeah, I remember in one short film, it's a short film called Saruna. And in the film, there's a scene of a girl riding a bike
Okay.
in the neighborhood, and her father sees her and he starts following her
Yeah.
to get her back home. What I had in mind for that scene was about 8 or 9 shots, because I built up the chase sequence. Like,
Yeah.
he sees her, she sees him, she runs away, he chases after her. But when we got to the location, because of, again, some delays from the production team or whatever whatever that's out of our control, I had to take only one shot.
Oh, from 8 to 9 to one shot.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's very challenging. But you try to make it concise and make that scene or make that shot say everything that you wanted to say in those 8 shots.
Yeah.
So such events are very difficult to work with sometimes.
Honestly, I hate to bring back Clint Eastwood again, but this also reminds me of something I read from an interview of him. Because David Fincher.
Yeah.
So David Fincher is known for having maybe more than 100 take for a single
Yes.
one. And then they asked Clint Eastwood, why don't you do so many takes? And then he said, if I don't get it on the first time, I'm doing something wrong.
True.
So Clint Eastwood is known for taking one take, while
True.
David Fincher is known for taking the extreme.
True.
So you were put in both spots, right? You were going for 8 and 9, but then you had to go for 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about working as a director. Do you want actors to stick mainly to what you wrote, mainly to your vision, or are you the kind of directors who's like, do what you gotta do, but at least keep it within the realm of what I wrote?
I would tell them what style I'm going for or what kind of acting that I'm looking for. But
Yeah.
if they have any addition, I'm always welcoming. But sometimes different actors have different abilities in acting. Some actors go for like extreme realism, and some of them go theatrical.
Yeah.
And those two are fine on their own. But if you have two people talking in a film, and one of them is overacting, and the other guy is rigid,
Yeah.
it's gonna look mismatched.
Yeah.
So I would try to find something in between, depending on what kind of actors I have. And that's the most challenging thing I have in my next short film, because I have around 12 actors,
Yeah.
and I need to find 12 actors who can do the same kind of acting, basically, instead of just somebody going overacting or somebody doing very subtle, less acting. It's a very challenging thing, because the audience would notice this.
Yeah.
Especially in the cinema, because it's very
It shows
it's
on
very
screen.
big. It
Yeah.
shows on the screen.
Yeah. Like even my dad, who doesn't watch a lot of movies, sometimes he's watching something, they say, oh, they don't know how to act.
Yeah, it shows.
Yeah, it just shows.
It shows.
Yeah.
If the two actors are doing the same kind of acting, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if one is over and one is under, it's
Yeah, there's a mismatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of mismatches, this reminds me of the movie Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's a bad movie because all of them were doing such a great job, but Cameron Diaz was doing a bad job. So it's like, okay, one actor can ruin an entire good movie. So I
True.
do understand your point of view.
True.
And I want to ask you about, because you said you got to choose between 12 actors, and because Kuwait has such a small circle, and I'd imagine most of them are your friends, does that make the decision harder? Like, it's not personal, but how do you deal with those?
It's very difficult when you want actors at a certain age, let's say 45 and above, because for example, my short film is about two families meeting for a marriage, and I need the two dads to be really good actors, because they're the focus of the film. So I need to find two good actors who are around 55 years old, and not famous actors, because I can't pay them enough fees for them, because they're stars. They get paid thousands of KDs to do different TV shows. So I have to get a lot of non-professional actors, and I prefer working with non-professionals because they don't have as much experience, but they have so much truth in their performance.
Oh, that's a unique take.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to find non-professional actors, because you have to search and do a lot of casting.
And so, if you're directing, I'd imagine you've already directed some, unprofessional actors. Was it challenging to give them commands, or have you found the process gets easier as time goes on?
It gets easier with communication, if you know what you want, and especially with film, because you have different shots to make one scene. So you can take it one shot at a time, and you have to get them in the mood for that shot. For example, you would have a close-up, and you would tell them, I just want you to stand up, and after 3 seconds, just look to your right.
Yeah.
And if they do that when it's cut with the other scene, it would make more sense.
Oh, yeah.
And it depends. Some non-professional actors are very difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Again, in the same short film I was talking about the cheating student, the guy that I had, the guy that was my first choice, when I did the casting for him, he did such a horrible job.
Oh.
And the other guy that was supposed to be the supporting character was a brilliant non-professional actor. So I had to tell the main actor, sorry,
was that a difficult conversation?
Yeah, it was actually, because they're young. They're like 16-year-olds.
Oh, okay.
And I had to tell him that you're not good enough in a way. But I told him that I think the other guy is a way better actor, so he can do a better job. And he did, actually. He stood out in the film.
So do you find yourself in this kind of situations all the time, trying to give, let's say, bad news to people? Or is that something you fortunately avoided so far?
I try to avoid it as much as I can.
Yeah.
and that's why I try to have a longer casting process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make sure that this actor can deliver the performance that I would like,
Yeah.
and then it should run smoothly with a few rehearsals.
And I will give you a trick, it's not my place to give you, but
Sure.
coincidentally, just today, and this is 100% true, I was shown a reel, and it was a very, very famous filmmaker who gave a very fantastic performance for a child. It was like, I think 6 years old or something. And then the interviewer asked him, how did you give the child to make such a performance? And then he told him, I gave him a very hard mathematical equation, and I told him to fix it in your head. And so the performance you're seeing, he's saying the kid is solving a mathematical equation.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is just another funny tidbit of filmmaking.
that was the Abbas Kiarostami video.
Yeah, Bhaskar Summit.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yes, this one.
I'm a huge fan of his work.
Yeah, it was just shown to me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, very creative, very, it just shows you how many tricks people use behind the scenes.
Sure.
Yeah, and this kind of segues to my other question is that what is something behind the scene that people are going to be confused or shocked about or surprised?
Something that happened to me personally.
We can go, we can take the both approaches, something for you personally and something in general. Like people might not know about something behind the scenes.
Because I worked mostly independently, I think
Yeah.
not a lot of people understand how difficult it is to work with no budgets.
Yeah.
So whatever work you would produce, people would still be comparing it to works that costed millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I think that's a tough comparison when it comes to our work. But if you see us working behind the scenes, you would understand how difficult it is for us to try to tell a story and with no money. So I think it's not a fair comparison, but you can't help how the audience would react to any work that you do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, have very false ideas about how much it takes to make money, because it takes a lot of money, even for short movies. There are so many things that go into that kind of process. And because we're running out of time, I do want to leave you with one question. If there's no budget involved, there's unlimited amount of money, what is your passion project? What is the project that's your Titanic?
I would like to do a film, or maybe now a miniseries,
Okay.
about the invasion,
Yeah.
about a family, which is based on a true story.
Oh,
It's
mashallah.
about a family that got separated during the invasion and how they it's a long adventure,
Yeah.
and how they got back together
Oh, mashallah.
after the liberation.
Yeah.
That would be a project that I'm interested in making, actually.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time on this very amazing segment. And I know that people behind the cameras know from previous experiences, previous times together, that if I keep talking about movies, it's going to be an endless night for me. So I'm going to hold it right there. I'm going to say thank you one more time.
Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, that was all of the time we've had. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back. Unfortunately, that was all of the time we've had for today's episode of The Untold. Another great episode, another great time. Honestly, this could have gone for hours. I would have, been here for every minute of it. I love talking about everything movie related. But unfortunately, that was all the time we've had on The Untold. But until next time, goodbye for now.